Hi everyone, it's Lauren and I have a tag video for you today. This is the book Adaptation Wishlist tag, and this was created by Monica at She Might Be Monica. I will link the original tag video in the description box below, and I was tagged to do this by the lovely Jean at Jean's Bookish Thoughts. So the first adaptation on this wish list is which book you would like to see adapted into a movie, and I have two answers for this. The first one is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I think this would make a really beautiful film. It is about the Second World War. We follow a young girl who is blind, who is growing up in France, and a young boy who is growing up in Germany, and you see both sides of the war. In the book, it jumps between the two characters and their lives do converge somehow at the end, but it's all very wonderful, and I think it would make a really gorgeous movie, which would also probably be very popular at the box office because we know we all love war films. And my second answer for this is a little bit left field, but I actually think it would make a really good film, and that is The Blazing World by Siri Husfet. Siri Husfet's one of my favourite authors. She's so intelligent and she knows a lot about art and philosophy, and she puts all that into her work. The Blazing World is about a woman artist who has created these three pieces of art throughout the ages under pseudonyms, but not just through pseudonyms, through other male artists. So they have presented their work as their own and she's remained anonymous. And the way this book is written is that it's scraps of interviews or diaries or newspaper clippings, and it's about a man trying to prove that this woman did in fact create all these pieces of art. But what I love about this book is that Siri Husfet is amazing at describing art, and it makes me want to see it. I think it would be great to see that art interpreted and actually to be able to visualize it. And I also think it'd be quite interesting going from the different viewpoints and going from past to present. I think you could adapt this in a really interesting way. The next category for adaptations is a TV show, and I have picked for this the Neapolitan Novels by Elena Ferrante. This is the first in the Neapolitan Novels series, and this is the only book of it that I've read, but it's a very slow examination of two women's friendship from when they were children up until they were adults, and it's one of those books where it's sort of about nothing but about everything. And I think if this was handled in the right way, like a kind of BBC long adaptation, or actually one that was in Italian, that would be probably better. The next question is which book you would like to see adapted into a cartoon. Now, I really struggled with this and I had to think for a long time because I don't really watch cartoons, and also that's an odd genre, I think, for a book to be adapted into, but I did come up with one, and that is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender, which is a sort of young adult magical realism novel. It's about a young girl called Ava Lavender who is born with wings, and it goes back in time and shows you her family history, and there's sort of little bits of magic that happen in her mum's generation and her grandmother's generation. And I think if the art was really beautiful, this could really work as a cartoon, as maybe like an anime Studio Ghibli type of movie, because it is quite dreamy and quite ethereal. And with the magical realism, I think a cartoon would work really well because you'd maybe suspend your disbelief a little bit more than in an actual film. The next category is an adaptation into a graphic novel, and I must say I struggled with this one because I do find that graphic novels or comics are perhaps their own art form. I see them as books anyway, and I wouldn't ever say, oh, this graphic novel should be adapted into a normal novel. So I found this quite hard, and so I don't have an answer for this one, I'm afraid, which is a bit of a cop-out. But do leave a comment below if there is a book that you think would work really well as a graphic novel. Question 5 is a book that you'd like to see adapted into a play, and for this I have picked Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This has already been adapted into a film, but I always think that this would work really well as a play because I think it would be really powerful. This book is about the Biafran War in Nigeria, and we get different viewpoints in the book. We also jump back and forward in time slightly because there's somebody who's writing a book at the end of the novel, and I think that would work really well as a play. You could have kind of monologues interspersed with really striking imagery. I think just like having a cast of people on stage, you could do it really kind of sparsely and modern, and I think that would work really well. And the final category is which book would you like to be adapted into a musical, and for this I have chosen Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. This is a biography of Marilyn Monroe, but it's fictionalized. It's really interesting, and she gets inside Marilyn Monroe's head and she probably plays around with the truth a little bit. She really twists with time and space and history and the psychology of it all. It's a really interesting novel which I was completely engrossed in, and I think that would really make a really good musical, because you'd have all the music from the films that Marilyn Monroe had been in, but it would also, in my head, this is kind of a mix between Evita and like Sunset Boulevard, because you'd have all the goings on at the Hollywood sets and all the sleazy stuff going on behind the scenes, and then also kind of this woman's life from being a child into kind of the star that she became. I think that would be a really good musical, like a really, perhaps not a fun musical, perhaps quite hard hitting, but I would go and watch it. So those are my answers for the tag. Thanks to Jean for tagging me. I would love to hear your answers for this tag in the comments below. And I tagged to do these questions Adriana from Perpetual Pages, Max from Well Done Books, and Brittany from Under the Radar Books. I will link all of their channels below in the description box as well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
Hearing about people like that, I do find inspiring, and it's such an absolute tragedy that the reason I found out is because she got murdered. Otherwise I probably would never have known what she was doing, which is to do with my ignorance as well. And it's just hearing about things like that, it just makes you want to get politicised, or me anyway. It makes all of this whole situation makes me want to get